Do you breathe purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors? Now, time for the most in-depth look at the world of ECU athletics. Welcome in to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igoe on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Now, here's your host, Stephen Igoe.
All right, welcome into this edition of Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game. We are 2 days away from kickoff between East Carolina and Michigan. We're live on YouTube, live on Facebook. Check us out there. Give us a question. You want to talk Pirates, Wolverines, what to expect this Saturday. Also, if you just want to talk college football in general. If you want to talk Major League Baseball playoff race, I'm all welcome to do that as well as a Seattle Mariners fan as they keep rolling. But we'll stick, of course, to mainly ECU. And I had a great conversation with Cliff Galvin yesterday talking some Pirate baseball. But we're now full bore into Pirate football on this Thursday, August 31st edition of Hoist the Colors. Just 48 hours away from kickoff, man. It's hard to believe. I'll be heading to Ann Arbor tomorrow. We will have a show tomorrow, by the way. Joe Sampson will be back. We'll continue our roundtable discussion along with Philip Pilkington, who's producing today and will be producing tomorrow's show. But, of course, we'll have pregame coverage on Saturday as well and coverage tomorrow. And the Logan Zone returns tomorrow evening as well on 94.3 The Game and the Interbanks Media other platforms out there as well. Download the IBX Media app. Subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe on Facebook so you can follow all of our shows. All right, let's get to today's guest. He's back, Bobby Harward. And it's been a few weeks, Bobby, but and look, admittedly, we had to bump you out of your normal Wednesday slot for Cliff Galvin, so I apologize for that. But when we get a A-list guest, we got to get him in here when we can. But welcome back, Bobby. And we said last time we had you on, and we are going to have you on pretty much weekly throughout the year, that we'd be that much closer to kickoff. We're now 2 days away, and hard to believe, right?
I can't believe it's finally game week. Games are on tonight, too. I'm pumped. I'm excited. I already kind of prepped my wife and let her know that I'll be watching some football tonight.
Yeah, you have to this time of year. And, that's one of those conversations with my wife. I'm already busy enough covering ECU. She gets mad at me over that. If I have to drop on, oh, yeah, by the way, babe, there's Thursday night football. I'm keeping it secret, low-key right now, but when I turn the TV on later, I'm going to try to sneak some football on, and whether I have to go up to my man cave to do that or not remains to be seen. But exciting times, man. We'll get into the schedule tonight. Thursday night, there is some pretty good matchups. NC State, UConn, Florida, Utah, Nebraska, Minnesota. We'll talk about that towards the latter half of your appearance. Again, Bobby Harward's segment today brought to you by Sup Dogs. Check them out. You guys know the deal. Downtown Greenville, back-to-back Barstool Best Bar winners, one of the best spots to eat at in Greenville. They'll be with us all season long as well, presenting Bobby Harward's segments. And Bobby, a former staff member on the ECU football team, has great insight, joins us on our podcasts often. We like to get into the X's and O's, what to expect. So if you got a question on that standpoint, let us know. YouTube, tweet at us on X, as they call it now. And lots of jitters from ECU's perspective heading into this game Saturday. I've had a lot of fans message me that they're nervous about Saturday, and maybe they need to listen to Bobby or to Donnie Kirkpatrick's comments from yesterday, Bobby, which we'll play in a little bit. But he's kind of like, man, we're getting paid a lot of money to play this game. Let's just see what happens. Let's roll it out there and see what happens. But what are your overall feelings as we get closer to kickoff? 2 days out at this point on ECU's chances? Is it kind of a nothing to lose situation, or do they have a lot to lose in this situation?
Well, the first word that comes to my mind is excitement. I think, especially from a player's perspective, from a coaching staff perspective, you're tired of going against the same people over and over and over again. A few weeks in, you're starting to get the trash talk of, the plays, kind of when offense is stopping the scoring on the defense and vice versa. And so now you get to go against a new opponent, somebody else, a different colored jersey. So that's exciting, especially for this young Pirate team. There's so much inexperience and newcomers on this roster, especially in the secondary. You got a new quarterback. You essentially got all new offensive weapons outside of Rajay Harris. So just a lot of excitement and intrigue of what is this 2023 ECU Pirates team going to look like. I think honestly, I don't know if we'll get the full picture here in week 1 against such a strong opponent, but it's going to be good to see how they match up.
Yeah, and I guess the good news is too, if you're ECU, if you're looking for an advantage from the standpoint of maybe Michigan doesn't know quite what to expect, ECU would seemingly have that edge. How much that matters, how long that lasts, I don't know. ECU, I would think, would kind of know what to expect. Michigan has most of its personnel returning on both sides of the ball. They will have a different play caller. We'll get into that here shortly. But do you think there's any advantage, Bobby, of ECU's, basically the offensive personnel is essentially being reset entirely. And how much do you think maybe that helps ECU at least to start with?
I think there is an advantage because you have tape on these guys. You can see kind of some of their tendencies. You can see what they like to do offensively last season. So there is an advantage from that standpoint. But still, I mean, I was reading some stuff this morning. I know they relied heavy on the run game last year, but now with McCarthy having a year under his belt, maybe they start trying to open up the passing game down the field. So they could try to open up those things this week, but it is helpful from being able to see on a film standpoint, hey, you got some tendencies, especially from a defensive perspective. If you're looking at those offensive line stances and those sort of things, maybe some between the wide receivers for route combinations, those things that you can see on film will be helpful.
No doubt, a lot to look forward to from that standpoint. And then when you look at Michigan, and I've kind of had this conversation with people around ECU's program, outside of the program, obviously Jim Harbaugh will not be on the sideline with a self-imposed suspension, so your head coach won't be there. Now, he will coach all the way through the week of practice, and I think that's something that basically he's going to have a heavy hand in the game plan, whether he's there or not. Their offensive coordinator and their O-line coach, the same person, will not be there. He's been the position coach for the best offensive line Joe Moore Award winner the past 2 years. He will not be in the stadium nor on campus along with Jim Harbaugh. So they are delegating the offensive play calling duties to their quarterbacks coach, who was previously the OC at Old Dominion. How much of a I don't know. Is this a factor, Bobby, or does this only become a factor if East Carolina keeps the game close, going to the second half?
I think it's a factor from the get-go, to be honest with you. Of course, if ECU is able to pull the upset, that's kind of what Michigan fans will, lean on of, hey, our head coach was missing, our play caller was missing. But I do think it's a factor. You think from a team standpoint, Jim Harbaugh's been at Michigan for a while, and this is a veteran team, and they have a routine on the sidelines during game day. They know they have a leader that they can look to. That leader is not there, and even their offensive leader is gone, and their offensive coordinator and play caller. I don't know if it's as big of a factor from a play calling standpoint in the sense that the quarterback coach that will be calling plays has play calling experience, at the Division I level, but he's still going to be new calling plays to Michigan. So I'm sure from a Michigan standpoint, having time to prep for this and stuff will help soften the blow for them. But I think from a standpoint of looking at the players on the Michigan sideline, when they face adversity, they're not going to have their head ball coach to turn to. So I do think there will be a factor there.
Yeah, I just think if ECU can keep this thing, even going to the, if you're going to halftime and you're kind of looking for that rah-rah speech and maybe ECU's hanging around or even leading, at that point, maybe it starts to hit the players. Well, who do we turn to now? And they do have a pretty veteran team, which maybe will allow them to overcome it. But it's just another distraction potentially that could play in ECU's favor. Let's look at the defensive side of the ball from East Carolina's standpoint first. We'll maybe do a quick preview here on offense and defense with Bobby Harward, who's joining us. HTC Analyst, his official title this year, presented by Supdogs. So this ECU defense last year finished top 20 in the country in running yards allowed per game. They held teams to 3.4 yards per rush, 112 yards per game. Those are really, really strong numbers. Basically, that entire defensive line is back. There are new linebackers. The safeties are back, with Tegan Wilk and Julius Wood. So you have the majority of that run defense back. But we all know Michigan can absolutely just ground and pound teams to death, and they're massive up front. So the biggest question I have for ECU's defensive standpoint is going into this game is, can they hold their own in the running game? I'm not expecting ECU to shut Michigan down. I don't think that's possible. But can they at least hold their own enough, Bobby, to give themselves a chance to get off the field on 3rd and medium and not just get gashed for 7-8 yards a pop. Your thoughts there on that matchup?
That, to me, is really going to be the matchup that determines whether this game is even close or not, in my opinion. When you look across the board, Michigan's offensive line, you got 6'5", 316, 6'6", 320. Their center, naturally a shorter position, 6'2", 301. And then your right side is 6'6", 6'6", 322 and 340 pounds, compared to flip side, we got 6'1", 6'2", 260 pounds on the other side. So are those defensive linemen going to be able to hold up? The thing that gives me confidence is they're a senior experienced group back there. They've had a lot of playing experience, a lot of veterans on that defensive front, so they won't be intimidated, I don't think, from Michigan's size up front. Now, strength-wise, will they be able to hold their own? The key, to me, it's going to be interesting to see how Blake Harrell plays it. Is he going to do a lot of movement up front, trying to stunt guys into gaps and do some blitzes and those sort of things to stop the run? Or are they going to try to just hold up, go head-to-head, and hold their gaps and see if they can lighten the blow a little bit? That's what I'm intrigued. I could see both sides of the argument there, because if you tendency-wise, I would prefer to stunt gaps and blitz, but then, you're opening up the lanes to get gashed there if one of your guys gets washed or is out of gap.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Mike Houston talked about throughout this week that if you bust a run fit, or if you get gapped, you're going to give up a big play against these guys because they're so good. So it's like, you want to be aggressive, but in this environment, because you do, to a degree, have nothing to lose, and you ideally, maybe you try to get some TFLs to put them behind the chains and make mistakes, but, there's risk and reward that comes with that. So it's just, I'm sure those are debates ECU's having. We know ECU's defense is very multiple. They do a lot of movement, trying to get, teams out of their flow offensively, and just really looking forward to seeing how ECU approaches. I think we'll know, Bobby, by the end of the drive 1 or 2, if they can at least hold their own. I mean, that kind of speaks for itself right out the gate. Passing defense, we had the show a couple weeks ago, looking forward to guys we're seeing. Siobhan Revel has been a little banged up at times this preseason, but he was back at practice this week, so he's going to play. And, Julius Wood, Columbus, Ohio native, I think he'll be fired up for this game. And we've talked so much about the run defense, but you also can't give up the big pass play. Like, if I'm Michigan, I'm going play action bomb first series just to test ECU's secondary. So a lot of speed at Michigan at wide receiver. What are you looking for on that side of the ball from the back end forward? Is it just a matter of preventing the big play from J.J. McCarthy and company?
I think so. And can they just improve in last year? Because they were 129 out of 131. There's a lot of new faces back there. How do they communicate together? How are the safeties talking to the corners? Now, thankfully, our safeties are the ones that are experienced. And they're the ones doing most of the communication with the defensive secondary. So that gives you hope. But I think from a physical standpoint, with Revel's size and some of these other guys' size and speed, I think you feel good about them being able to hold up physically against the Michigan receivers. But again, are they staying disciplined in their zone coverages? Are they staying disciplined, when the ball's in the air, if they're in man coverage, not, causing any PIs on those deep balls and those sort of things. So, I'm excited to see how they've grown over this offseason. I think we will see an improved defensive secondary. But, yeah, it's just a lot of unknown right now. You got some linebackers, too, that are going to have to help in the pass coverage, and they're going to be torn. They're going to, knowing Michigan's a run-heavy team, they may be sitting up a little bit closer to the line in terms of holding their ground before they drop into coverage to ensure pass. But, I'm excited to see this matchup. I know Michigan has not had to rely heavy on the pass game, so we'll see kind of what their offensive game plan is. If they're just going to try to run it down our throats and see if they can do that, or if, to your point, I agree with you. I think they do try a deep play action pass pretty early on.
Yeah, I know they want to establish their will, impose their will. That's kind of what Michigan football is all about. But I would be surprised if they just line up and try to – and maybe that they're just so good it doesn't matter. They can do that. And maybe that's what they'll do, and the ECU just can't stop it. But I would take a shot downfield against a very inexperienced secondary with a lot of moving parts. if I'm Michigan. All right, let's get our first break in. We'll come back. We'll talk about East Carolina's offense against this Michigan defense, what to expect, maybe dive into special teams. We'll also talk about the Thursday night football schedule, the week 1 football schedule outside of ECU and Michigan with Bobby Harward on the other side. You're listening to Hoist the Colors, 94.3 The Game.
A huge selection of new Toyotas is ready to go at Greenville Toyota. Rush in for the one you want before it's gone. Camrys, just $269 a month. RAV4s, ready to go for just $289 a month. Now at Greenville Toyota.
Do you know what cut it is, Donnie?
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you farm to fork beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grill and feast.
Farm to fork beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Because I need to
At
figure out
Igoe,
what
we don't
games
just
we're
supply
picking,
the office
something
space.
like that.
We create solutions for any environment. Our state-of-the-art commercial-grade video display is perfect for watching film with the team.
Right. Okay.
From film study to the field, elevate your game with Go Eco.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
New Toyotas are ready to go at Greenville Toyota. Shop a huge selection with new inventory arriving daily. Don't see what you want? We'll find it or order it for you. Plus, fresh trades are rolling in and ready to go for delivery today. Rush to Greenville Toyota.
This is ECU head football coach Mike Houston, and you're listening to Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back into the show. Nice liner there from Mike Houston. I forgot we had that, to be honest. So glad to have supportive Coach Houston. We'll get him back in studio maybe later this year, maybe during the bye week. He's a little busy right now. Pirates heading to Ann Arbor tomorrow. All right, Bobby Harward is with us. We're back. Hoist the Colors, 94.3 The Game. Bobby presented by Sup Dogs. He'll be with us all season long, usually on Wednesdays. We had to get Cliff Galvin in here Wednesday, so Bobby's joining us on this Thursday. And so we just talked about the East Carolina defense and kind of what to expect. And now my big question with this game, I mean, I have a lot of questions, as I'm sure most people do, but can ECU score is the main one. Michigan is loaded on defense. They got 8 of 11 guys back from a defense that only allowed 16 points per game last year. They're huge up front, and we can talk about the quarterback situation, but I don't even know if the bigger question may be if the offensive line can just survive. But let's start at quarterback. I was going to play the cut from Donnie Kirkpatrick. I don't think we got it quite ready yet. So basically, Bobby, Donnie said yesterday, essentially East Carolina, they know what they're going to do. And in many ways, he was like, you guys, the media, know what we're going to do. And that's probably to start Mason Garcia. It's been kind of the plan for years now. So we know Garcia's most likely going to start, even if it hasn't been officially announced. He also said we're prepared to play 3 quarterbacks, and he said if there's a game to play 2 quarterbacks the same play, this would be the game because ECU is getting paid $1.8 million for a reason. They're huge underdogs. So your thoughts, is he just throwing stuff out there to make Michigan just like, head spin, or what are your thoughts on those comments?
First of all, I love Donnie Kirkpatrick. I think he's awesome. I think he's just kind of throwing all stuff against the wall and sick, and maybe trying to throw Michigan off just a little bit. But I think he's really just having fun in the press conference, in a way, trying to lighten the mood for his guys. He's probably in that same mode in the meeting rooms as well, trying to, it's the first game. The team's going to be uptight. They're a little excited playing somebody new, playing the number 2 ranked team in the country. But he wants to do everything he can to loosen them up, help them to have fun, because they have nothing to lose this week. And they are massive underdogs, and they got a lot to prove, a lot of new personnel offensively. So just go out and have fun and play loose.
Assuming Mason Garcia gets the start, what are expectations for him? What are fair expectations? Or should we just not have any expectations and watch the game as it is?
I want to say just enjoy and watch the game as it is, but as a human, we're going to have expectations. Trying to remember and keep things in perspective. I think I said this the last time I was on your show, Stephen, but I mean, all we've heard the last few years is Mason Garcia, just all the potential that is there. Remembering as fans, this is really going to be his first live bullets as a starting quarterback. For me, what I want to see is how he does in the run game. I'm not necessarily looking as much as in the passing game. I know he's the quarterback and he's responsible for throwing the football. But to your point earlier when we came back from the break here, Michigan's massive up front. And we got a lot of new faces on the offensive line. I'm not very confident we'll be able to hold up for 3-4 seconds to take those shots down the field. I think we'll see a lot of the RPO game and a lot of Mason Garcia running the football as well. So I really just want to see how he manages the game and how he does running the football. I want to get to kind of judging him and raising my expectations for him as a passer after week 1 here.
I think that's a very good point, because I feel like there may be a day where Mason Garcia is more of a drop back passer and can survey the field and throw the football. But the combination of Michigan's O-line and just where this offense is right now, I don't think you can do that. I mean, maybe if you're having an extended drive and you get Michigan's defense on its heels, their defensive line's a little tired. Maybe at that point you can try, a deeper routes. But if you go out there first series just dropping back, throwing the football, and I don't think ECU would do this, but I just think it's going to be very tough, especially for these. I feel pretty good about the interior offensive line, but I think tackle is a question mark for me, just in terms of depth. Like, I think Parker Moore can definitely play, and Hampton Ergel can play, but beyond that, I'm worried, and you don't want to get those guys hurt. Also, Hampton has played a lot of center, and it sounds like he's going to play some right tackle due to the lack of tackle depth. So, what type of push, if any, can ECU get in the run game in this one? Or is it more you're just going to have to run the football or get creative with the quarterback to get that extra blocker just to have a chance to move the football? Because I don't know if this is the week Rajay Harris goes off for 100 yards in his return, just because to me there's not going to be a lot of holes up there.
Agreed. I think you're going to have to utilize a quarterback run game, like you said, get an extra hat, an extra blocker. The other thing I think you'll see a lot of is a lot of RPOs. I think, that's one less man you have to block because the quarterback's reading that guy on the defense, whoever they, circle and is the read guy on the defensive end. That's one less man they're responsible for. And we'll see. I'm not super optimistic, like you said, that they'll get, over 100 yards rushing game. But if they can get, 70-plus yards, if they can manage the game, hold on to the football, burn some clock, give the defense a rest too, because the defense is going to have quite a battle ahead of them. It's really going to need complementary football at its finest for them to have a chance to win this game, in my opinion. They're both offense, defense, special teams. They're all going to have to play really cohesive, and you really, offensively, you just got to not turn the ball over and milk the clock to give yourselves a chance.
Yeah, so like on one hand, it's like, all right, you can't go in there, you can't turn it over and give them free points. But on the other hand, you also have to be like, well, you got to take some shots too because you're an underdog and you almost have nothing to lose. So I think there is a balance there to strike, Bobby. But that's why the coaches get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars, in Mike Houston's case, millions of dollars, to make those decisions. And, we saw ECU against South Carolina a couple years ago. First play of the game, trick play, touchdown bomb to Josiah Hatfield. I'm not saying I have seen any trick plays this preseason, but I know they have it in the bag, and I've seen it in past years. So what are the odds of some sort of trick play, whether it be special teams, offense, specifically in this game?
100%. 100% chance you'll see a trick play. And maybe Donnie was being honest when he said you'll see two quarterbacks on the field. I could see that. I do think you have to take a shot. You have to do some trickery to stay in the game, whether it's just a simple reverse play. I'm always a little hesitant with the special teams trick plays because so much could go wrong and it can completely alter a game. But I do think you'll see at least one or two trick plays from the offense. What else do you have to lose?
We saw UNC come in 14 and try about 3 of them, and that was the only reason it was 71 to 70 to 41 instead of 70 to 21. So
funny story about that game. I'll never forget I was right behind Lincoln Riley walking into our locker room, and some fan that was tailgating was like, "Oh, Lincoln, hang 60 on him, Lincoln." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." And then sure enough, we put 70 points on him. So, yeah.
We won't 70. The chants are still ringing somewhere in the lore of the Boneyard as Kurt Benkert takes it in for for maybe his only ECU touchdown ever.
He may be.
Yeah.
He's living life in Hawaii right now.
That's right. He just got hired as a new football analyst for somebody too. So
Sleeper. Yep.
Yep, that's right. The fantasy app. Man, things are getting wild in the media industry. All right, Bobby, back to the topic at hand. Receiver-wise, we've talked about guys we want to see this season, and I think we're going to see a lot of Josiah Hatfield, a lot of Kerry King, Jalen Johnson, Shane Calhoun. Do you have any pick to click offensively out wide at receiver, or just offensively in general, like in terms of this guy has to have a good game for ECU to have a shot to score? Or is there just too much unknown right now to even make that prediction?
In my opinion, it's still going to come back to the quarterback. Mason has to have a good game. I know that's not the answer that you're wanting. From a skill position, I would say Shane Calhoun. Yeah. I would say Shane Calhoun, though, if we're going to pinpoint somebody at a skill position outside of quarterback. I think he has to be a threat to catch the football. I think they're going to utilize some stuff, maybe some play action pass, and just dump it to him. Hopefully he can pick up 4 to 5 yards. I am excited to see Jalen Johnson and how they utilize him. That's all we've kind of read out of camp is him moving around and just making plays for them out of the slot. So I'm excited to see how he adjusts to his new role as well as being the guy in the receiver room.
Something I found interesting as I looked at last year, in 4 of ECU's 5 losses, you can basically pinpoint, one big mistake as the reason they lost. And I think ECU's got to find a way to stay away from that just back-breaking mistake. You look at the NC State game, and I know people want to talk about the Owen Daffer missed kick, missed extra point. Like, obviously that was at the end of the game. Yes, it is technically why they lost, but they also allowed a punt block for a touchdown. Like, you can't give up a block punt for a touchdown against a top 15 team and expect to win. Navy, they had the ball. They were across midfield at the end of regulation. Holton Ahlers threw probably his worst pass of the season, was picked off. They ended up losing in overtime. That was a back-breaking play when it looked like they were about to win. Tulane, they were driving to potentially take the lead or tie it. Holton threw to the back of the end zone. Hatfield, I think it was the intended target. Little lazy on the route, didn't come back to the ball, wasn't the best throw, got picked. That was the last turnover of the season for ECU, by the way. But that was a crucial mistake. Cincinnati, you give up a 100-yard kick return. You lose that game. Houston, I'm not even going to get into that game. That was just a disaster. But 4 of the 5 games, Bobby, like that one big mistake against good teams, you can't make them. So that, to me, if ECU makes that mistake early in the game, clearly it can get out of hand. But if you're going to have any shot to win it, you can't give up a big kick return, punt block, etc. in a game like this. Ideally, you want that play on your side, right?
Exactly. Yeah, special teams, there's so few special teams play throughout a game, but they're so impactful. I mean, most of the time we just see a punt, a fair catch, we transition. But when there is that punt block, when there's that punt return for a touchdown, completely alters the momentum on the sideline. I mean, Kirk Dahl used to have a statistic, I wish I remembered, but it was over, 50%. If you block the punt, your chances of winning the game increase by like 50% that game. I mean, it's something astronomical like that you would not expect to be that big of a difference. But statistically it is. So not beating yourselves is going to be a huge deal on Saturday.
Robert Dedrick on YouTube, he says Jalen Johnson will be lined up versus an inexperienced sophomore nickelback. Yeah, the Michigan secondary does have some injury problems, Bobby. We didn't really touch on that, and that's the big, that would be the weakness. They have a question at corner. It sounds like their two safeties are out, and so can ECU even find a way to exploit that is my question. Like, can they even hold up in the pass pro long enough? And that's something we won't really know till Saturday, right?
I think so. I think you're right. And I think that where they can hopefully maybe expose it early on is in the play action pass game. If they could try to hold those defensive lines neutral a little bit, just so the O-line can get themselves set and exploit maybe an inexperienced defensive back eyes are cheating and are in the backfield looking at the play fake, and we can sneak behind them. So hopefully early on we can exploit the secondary using play action pass and boots. I think boots are going to be helpful too, because it's going to give Mason the option to either throw, pick up a decent gain, or take off running if he sees fit as well. So I wouldn't be a surprise also in the passing game if we see Mason Garcia getting out of the pocket quite a bit.
All right, last thing on this game before we transition to the schedule for college football this week, Bobby. So I'm still debating my score prediction, and I'm not asking you to give me a score prediction off the, if you don't want to. But I do think ECU is going to cover this game the closer we get to kick off. The line, I think, is at 35.5 or 36. That's a lot of points. Certainly Michigan could run away with it. Do you feel like ECU covers, and do they have a shot to win this football game?
I'm unfortunately do not think they will cover the spread here. I think Michigan is too good. I mean, I know we've played some talented teams here recently. NC State last year was pretty good, obviously being a top 25 opponent. We've played South Carolina fairly recently as well, but this is a different beast. This is a different animal in terms of skill level. Michigan, in my opinion, is much better than the NC State team that we saw. We're going to have to play a flawless game to have a chance. So I hope that happens. I'm going to be rooting hard for them. But, if I were betting my personal money on it, I don't think they would be covering the spread.
Well, it's a fair point. I do think it's a great point that Michigan in a national championship title contender is a major difference than South Carolina and NC State. Like, this is a different ball game, and you're on the road. So huge differences there. All right, Philip, our producer, had a question, I believe, as well. Phil, take it away.
Yeah, appreciate it, Igoe. So I've always been one of those guys that I love to defer to the second half regardless. Do you think if you're Mike Houston and you win the coin toss here, you want to have the ball? Because I feel like the longer you can keep the game close, the more you believe in yourself. Is that crazy to think that, like, hey, that one possession, we should have the ball just that much less time that Michigan has to score? What are you doing if you win the toss and you're Mike Houston?
I'm with you. I think you take the ball offensively. I mean, to your point, if the worst thing that can happen is you defer, you give Michigan the ball, and then they just run it down your throat or gash you for a large gain, and then a touchdown drive, and then now all the momentum is in their favor, and you're playing from behind the eight ball the whole time. So I think, to your point, I think it's a great point. You take the ball offensively, because even if you can milk some clock and you don't score, but you can gain some yards and get some confidence, that's just going to hype up the defense that much more when they go out for their first drive.
Yeah, I say take the ball. And I remember the 2015 game at Florida. Y'all played Ruffs last year. Y'all got the ball first. Tough environment. I don't remember what the spread was, but that was a really good Florida team. Ended up finishing, really good that year. But Blake Kemp and the boys led him down the field, scored Davon Grayson first series, and it was a tight contest throughout after that. So, like, to me, if you do get the ball and you go score, you make that statement that you're here to play. So I lean towards that as well. If you kick it and then they go score, like, that just sets the wrong tone. Definitely. So that's how I lean as well.
The only way they can score without the ball is if you get a safety, and you shouldn't be having a safety after the opening kickoff.
Let's hope not. We don't need shades of Super Bowl 50 snapping it over Peyton Manning's head.
That's true.
On the first play of the game. We should have a new center, by the way, Dustin Hall. So hopefully things go well there. All right, we got a few more minutes with Bobby. We'll get him out of here. All right, Thursday night. Tonight, we have legitimate college football. Yeah, we had week 0. There were a couple of good games. But tonight, we got actual competitive football. Florida at Utah is the headliner. But you also got some other interesting games. NC State at UConn is sneaky. UConn made some progress last year under Jim Mora. Nebraska, Minnesota, first game for Matt Rule at Nebraska. You got a couple American teams in action. Arkansas Pine Bluff at Tulsa and North Carolina A&T at UAB. Anything catch your eye on the schedule, Bobby?
Yeah, I think Utah and Florida, the Urban Meyer Bowl is going to be a good one. I think Florida is going to be, a pretty solid team, even though they're not ranked right now. Always intrigued to watch NC State as an in-state team. UConn gives me nightmares, being that we lost to going up there, and I believe that was Russ last year, losing at UConn. And Nebraska, Minnesota, as a Panthers fan, I'm really kind of hoping Rule gets destroyed in that game. I'm not a big Matt Rule fan, but that's going to be a welcome to the Big Ten for him. And yeah, those are kind of the games that I'm looking for. You had pointed out. I'll probably keep an eye on UAB and Tulsa just being American Conference teams. More intrigued probably by the A&T game, UAB game, being that A&T did beat us up here, and seeing how UAB fares in Trent Dilfer's debut.
Bring me my money. Hopefully, for UAB's sake, they don't hear a similar soundbite. And then looking ahead, just to Friday, Saturday, you got some other good games as well. Louisville, Georgia Tech on Friday night, I guess, is a good game. I don't really know, but it's 2 ACC teams playing week 1. Colorado, Dion at TCU is a national televised game on Fox on Saturday. You got, of course, the big game. I think Florida State LSU play, which should be a good one. And it's a decent first week, but about what you would expect week 1 schedule. So. But it's just good to have college football back, right, Bobby?
Absolutely. Yeah, and also in that slate is Monday night, Clemson at Duke. I'm excited to see Garrett Riley's debut as the offensive coordinator at Clemson, to see how he fares going into the unfriendly confines of Wallace Wade Stadium. So
yeah, it'll be a packed house full of orange.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have a big, South Carolina, North Carolina battle Saturday night, which I'm sure will have a lot of eyes. Hopefully, a lot of people are watching that from downtown Greenville, celebrating an ECU win over Michigan.
Another sneaky good game, UTSA at Houston. New American team facing an old American team. UTSA, I think, is a slight road favorite, which shows you how good they are. So, we'll know a lot. Obviously we'll know more in the coming weeks about many of these teams, but for some of these games, we'll find out pretty quickly if Duke's last year was a fluke or are they really that good, and a lot of good stuff to look ahead to. All right, Bobby, we appreciate the time on today's program. We'll look forward to having you next Wednesday. We'll have a game to recap, but this was fun, man. Always is.
Yeah, enjoyed it. Appreciate you for having me, and let's go Pirates.
He's Bobby Harward, and he is presented by SupDog, so be back with us every Wednesday at 12 noon. All right, let's get our second break in. We'll come back. We'll hear some comments from yesterday's post-practice. We'll talk about some of that. We spoke to the coordinators, Blake Harrell, Donnie Kirkpatrick. We also heard from head coach Mike Houston. We may talk a little bit more about the Week 1 schedule as well, but stay tuned. You're listening to Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers in Greenville, plus the all-new Tiebreakers in Winterville. Do real burgers better than anybody. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, real burgers at its best.
Everybody loves burgers.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast. Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern Living's best small town.
Just because voice-over IP telephones are the latest technology in the telephone world doesn't mean they're the right choice for you and your business. Whether your internet provider is unable to support a voice-over IP phone system, or you don't have a need for high-tech features and simply want to stick with a traditional system, Spain Telecom is here to help. Spain Telecom offers a variety of services to keep your business connected and competitive. We're confident we can find the right phone system for you and your business, a system that addresses all your communication needs. Looking for a new phone system that won't break the bank? In addition to new systems, Spain Telecom also offers gently used systems that are in great shape and can save you money. No matter your needs, Spain Telecom has a solution for you. Whether it's voice over IP, on-premise systems, new or used, give us a call at 252-353-2006 and let Spain Telecom help you with your communications needs.
Pizza? Ooh.
Yes. All pineapple.
No.
What's wrong with pineapple on pizza?
I only eat pizza with pizza things.
That makes sense. Pineapple is a pizza thing.
Also makes sense. Is it though?
This tastes great.
That we agree on.
Let's agree to agree. Pepsi Zero Sugar tastes great.
Can't you just pick off the pineapple?
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
Back to Hoist the Colors with Steve and Igoe.
Drink up for me, hearty yo-ho.
On 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back into the show. Hoist the Colors, Thursday, August 31st, 2 days away from kickoff. ECU, Michigan. Had a great conversation with Bobby Harward, Hoist the Colors analyst. He'll be with us all season long. Dove into kind of what to expect from the matchups on both sides of the ball. We talked, too, with the coordinators yesterday, Blake Carroll, Donnie Kirkpatrick. They did get to practice in before the rain came. Let's hear some of those cuts now. We'll expand on them as well. Blake Carroll talks about the change with Michigan's offensive coordinator being out. Sharon Moore has been suspended for the opener, which means the quarterbacks coach, the former OC at Old Dominion from 2020 to 21, will be the play caller. And so we got Coach Harrell's thoughts on that yesterday after practice.
Obviously, the new play caller was at ODU, so you go back and look at his stuff a little bit in his background. I think actually going back to our Lenore Ryan days, he was the offense coordinator at Alderson Broadus when he played back in, I think, 2013. So the history there goes back pretty ways. But I don't think it changes who the players are, who their identity is, or what they really want to do with football.
And that's the thing. Michigan, just the more I talk to people, it just sounds like they're going to line up and do their thing and run it right at them, maybe take some shots down the field, and until ECU proves they can stop it, they're going to be themselves. And so maybe, like we talked about with Bobby, it really only becomes an issue who your play caller is if ECU proves they can stop the run and forces them into some situations where the Wolverines are not too comfortable, where you have to get a little bit more creative, especially against ECU's blitz packages. If you can get them in the third and long, that changes some things. Interesting change this year with the rules. In the past college football, the clock has stopped when a first down occurs. And bring in Philip here, Philip Pilkington, producing the show today. I am a fan of this change. I know a lot of people are not, but, man, these games are too long. And I know some people like the fact that they're long games because they're entertaining, but I think as somebody who works the games, who has a family, they need to be shortened, and this helps a little bit. What are your thoughts on the first downs not being stopped immediately after the chains are moved.
This rule should have been changed 100 years ago. Long overdue. College games usually last 3.5 hours. Pro games usually last 3 hours. What's the difference? This stupid rule. Now, halftime is 8 minutes longer, and that's a topic for another day because I can rant about a 20-minute halftime for an hour. But, yeah, this is dumb. Changing the rule was not dumb. The rule was dumb to begin with. I love that they've changed it. I think it'll shorten games probably by 4 or 5 minutes. It won't be anything drastic, but, man, it'll still help. I mean, there's so many times you miss kickoff to the next game because the first game runs over.
Yeah, it's gotten out of hand, and I don't know how much, they still take too many commercial breaks and still too long, even watching some last week. But it did help, like watching the Navy-Notre Dame game. I know Navy runs the option, which helps, but it just felt a lot cleaner. And the NFL has it down to a science. You start at 1, you're done by 4 for the 4 o'clock window for the most, for 90% of the game. So, interested to see how it affects the actual games, though. Blake Harrell was asked about that. What advantage, if any, that could provide, or if that changes what he's thinking on game day.
When we get the lead, then that clock just runs as fast as possible, and we play as very few snaps as possible defensively. I think, really the big thing for us defensively we looked at is probably going to take about 5 snaps is what they're estimating average on defensively. So if you're playing an average of 64 snaps, now you're going to play about 59, more the NFL model. But other than that, the clock still stops inside of 2 minutes, pretty normal there. So you might play a few less snaps a game, but other than that, it's not going to have much impact defensively, how we go about our business or how we maybe call the game or affect things there. So, offensively, those guys may look at it differently, but defensively, you just kind of always react to what you get anyways.
All right, the last cut from Blake Harrell is, before we get a break here, he talked about the fact you can't play this Michigan run game the whole way, or the same way the whole way. And we got into that discussion with Bobby earlier. How do you play it? Do you do it aggressively? Do you kind of sit back and react? Blake Harrell talked about that. Cut 4, can't play them the same way the whole game. Here's Blake Harrell.
They obviously do a really good job running the football. And, they got 2 good tailbacks to do that, a good O-line to do that. So we got to have various ways to take care of the run game. And I think, where they get a lot of their running yards, if you go back and watch the tape, is in the second half. They just kind of wear on people and then wear them down in the fourth quarter. You'll see a 10-10 ball game. All of a sudden you look up and it's 31-10. And they just kind of wear on somebody. Somebody misses a gap. And they have the ability to break it out and take it to the house. So you got to have various weapons to take in. I don't think you can sit there and play them, one way all game, or at least that's not our philosophy right now.
All right, there's Blake Harrell talking about how to defend this Michigan offense, and we'll see it firsthand on Saturday, 12 noon. All right, let's get our final break in. We'll come back. We might play some Donnie Kirkpatrick as well before we get out of here. Hoist the Colors, 94.3 The Game.
5th Street Hardware is the home of the $9 lunch special Tuesday through Fridays. $9 specials every day, including the famous Burger Day on Tuesdays, Flatbread Pizza Wednesday, the famous 5th Street Hardware Reuben on Thursday, and fried fish or shrimp on Friday. Plus trivia on Wednesday nights and live music every Thursday nights. And the Prime Rib Brunch Buffet has returned on Sundays. You heard that right. The Brunch Buffet with all the great items, including prime rib. 5th Street Hardware in downtown Greenville.
Tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master. You can't name a lot of things that I didn't do. It's like a paper, like a book, not a Kindle. You outdated, I'm the one they getting into. And I break a sweat. Let's get it, 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 let's get it.
Are you game day ready? Anson Belt, the official belt of ECU Athletics.
Are you ready for a digital hair color revolution? The Color Master Factory by Chi and LG. A masterpiece of innovation, unlimited color formulations, limitless possibilities. Long-lasting color. Chi.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
Here there be pirates. Back to Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igoe. How good is this on 94.3 The Game?
All right, welcome back into the program. Final segment on this Thursday, August 31st edition of Hoist the Colors. We are closing in on kickoff, less than 47 hours, I believe, or getting close to 47 hours, I should say, officially, less than 48. All right, let's hit a few more of these cuts before we get out of here today. Donnie Kirkpatrick, we talked with him after Wednesday's practice, and really the first game of the year is always one of the more interesting because you've got personnel changes, possible scheme changes. Definitely on ECU side, you've got a lot of unknown. Maybe not as much on Michigan side, but they can still change some things up with some new personnel. So Donnie Kirkpatrick, he talked about that cut 9 here, about how the first game is always a little crazy. Here's Donnie Kirkpatrick discussing that yesterday.
The thing about first games, it's always a little crazy anyhow. You're kind of sparring at the beginning, trying to figure out, is that the same team? Like I say, we opened up with North Carolina State last year. They had been a great defense the year before. We were expecting a really good defense, which they turned out to be. But you're still getting in there trying to figure out, have they stayed with the same scheme? Have they put in new things? Have they moved people around? And usually they have, and they had, and I'm sure Michigan will have some new things for us as well like that. So I think our guys will be excited. I think that's maybe an edge. I don't know how. They'll be excited to play. They're probably not. Their fans are probably not thinking, "Wow, we're playing East Carolina." Whereas our fans and our players are hearing, "Hey, y'all are going to play Michigan. This is pretty cool." So if anything, hopefully we'll be excited. Maybe we'll be more excited than them if that's possible.
Donnie also talked about just the amount of personnel they're using this preseason, especially with, again, they don't have the proven player like an Isaiah Winstead or a C.J. Johnson that's going to be the go-to guy. So they're working a lot of personnel. They're working a lot of personnel packages. He discussed that. Cut 10, Donnie Kirkpatrick, after yesterday's practice.
The game has changed so much anyhow because everybody's personnel and things now. It looks like a hockey game out there anyhow. There's side changes or whatever that thing is. So, we have 10 personnel, you have 11 personnel, you have 13 personnel, you have 20 personnel. But now even you have 11 Jari, and you have 11 Juice. And you have, okay, I want this personnel, but I want this player in to make sure, or I want to play these two guys, though they may be listed at the same position, because, you're a guard, you're a forward, you're a center, you're an infielder, whatever you are now. It's getting more like that. You're a mid infielder, you know what I'm saying, or you're a pitcher, but you may start, you may not start. Everybody's doing multiple things. The game has got a lot more open, a lot more basketball-like, like that. A lot of guys can bring the ball down the court now, you know what I'm saying?
And we've reached a point in camp, as we continue to roll through these Donnie Kirkpatrick cuts here, that we've seen these guys make plays in practice, and now it's just let's get to game day. Let's see who is going to step up on game day. They're all going to get snaps, and you're going to get more snaps if you make the catch when it's thrown to you, make a guy miss, prove you can handle this environment. Donnie talked about that as well. Cut 12. The best players seem to always rise up in these situations, and this is a big one. Here's Donnie Kirkpatrick.
The good players usually come to the top. The bigger the situation, the bigger the game. You know what I'm saying? But we're getting ready to find out because we're going to get tested, just like we did last year, though. North Carolina State proved to be one of the best defenses in the country. throughout the season. And that was after they lost their quarterback. They didn't do much offensively either. They kept putting people down. So we'll have another tough challenge like that. We'd love to be playing at home. You know what I'm saying? I wish we were playing here. We're playing up there, but again, I don't know. Maybe it's going to be a better thing. It'll be fun.
All right, there's Donnie Kirkpatrick. You can check out the full press conference. We got it on the 94.3 The Game YouTube page. We also got it on the Hoist the Colors YouTube page. So like and subscribe to both of those pages because, of course, for 94.3 The Game, for this show, every time we go live, you're going to get it on 94.3 The Game. When we do the Hoist the Colors podcast, which is a separate show, we're going to do that on the Hoist the Colors YouTube page. So if you want access to both shows, subscribe to them both. Hit the little notifications bell. That way you're always alert when we go live, which will be quite often, obviously every day, 12 noon on this program. But our subscription numbers continue to rise on 94.3 The Game YouTube. We'll continue to increase those throughout the season. Always looking for your feedback as well. All right, we are closing in on 47 hours until ECU and Michigan kick off in the Big House. This has been a very fun show today. Again, thanks to Bobby Harward for coming along for the ride. He'll be with us every Wednesday. Typically had to join us Thursday this week due to Cliff Godwin's appearance, but we'll have Bobby next Wednesday to break down the Michigan game, and we'll also start looking ahead to Marshall. But of course, we got game day this Saturday, and we got a show tomorrow. Joe Sampson will be back with us, former ECU tight end. We'll get his take on some of Coach Kirkpatrick's comments on yesterday's post-practice press conference, and we'll also get his final predictions for Michigan and continue our roundtable discussion with he and Philip Pilkington. This has been Hoist the Colors. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 12 noon.
This has been Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igoe. Tune in weekdays at noon for all things ECU sports. Get a recap of the show at 943thegame.com, on Twitter, Facebook, or anywhere you get your podcasts. We're back tomorrow with more of Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
R&D Brewing is proud to partner with the ECU Pirates, and now you can enjoy Pirates Brew, the official craft beer of ECU Athletics. Pirates Brew is a carefully curated light beer that embodies the spirit of ECU, a refreshing and easy drinking light beer. Pirates Brew by R&D Brewing is available now at grocery stores, local retailers, and at ECU athletic events.
Head over to your favorite store and enjoy a nice Pirates Brew today, or else you'll walk the plank. Hand me another Pirates Brew.
Fifth Street Hardware is the home of the $9 lunch special Tuesday through Fridays. $9 specials every day, including the famous Burger Day on Tuesdays, Flatbread Pizza Wednesday, the famous Fifth Street Hardware Reuben on Thursday, and fried fish or shrimp on Friday. Plus trivia on Wednesday nights and live music every Thursday nights. And the Prime Rib Brunch Buffet has returned on Sundays. You heard that right. The Brunch Buffet with all the great items, including prime rib. Fifth Street Hardware in downtown Greenville.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast. Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern Living's best small town.
Just because voice over IP telephones are the latest technology in the telephone world doesn't mean they're the right choice for you and your business. Whether your internet provider is unable to support a voice over IP phone system, or you don't have a need for high-tech features and simply want to stick with a traditional system, Spain Telecom is here to help. Spain Telecom offers a variety of services to keep your business connected and competitive. We're confident we can find the right phone system for you and your business, a system that addresses all your communication needs. Looking for a new phone system that won't break the bank? In addition to new systems, Spain Telecom also offers gently used systems that are in great shape and can save you money. No matter your needs, Spain Telecom has a solution for you. Whether it's voice over IP, on-premise systems, new or used, give us a call at 252-353-2006 and let Spain Telecom help you with your communications needs.